we celebrate the official recognition of Detroit's own Blessed Solanus Casey's journey to holiness, we can each take our own personal journey of discovery. How does a humble boy from Irish immigrant parents rise to the rare position of having his personal sanctity publicly celebrated through the process of beatification? Who was Bernard Casey growing up? What decisions did he make in his life that set him on a path to becoming so widely celebrated in Detroit and beyond as a unique icon of accessible and imitable holiness?
He was present to you, and because of that, people felt cared for. No matter where he was transferred, it didn't take long. People said, there's this wonderful holy priest. He's wonderful. Go see him. So his fame spread quickly and widely.
What is the historical significance of the Capuchin friars? Where did they originate? What was life like for a Capuchin friar in Detroit in the 20s, 30s, and 40s? What impact did they have on the local community? What was it that influenced Blessed Solanus Casey to become a Capuchin Franciscan friar in the first place? We will delve deep into who the man in the habit was and what his presence did for the Motor City. And what does the process of canonization mean to the Catholic Church and the world? Bernard Francis Casey was born on November 25, 1870. Out of his 16 brothers and sisters, Bernard was the sixth oldest. His parents, Bernard Casey and Ellen Murphy, were Irish immigrants who settled in a small rural city in Oak Grove, Wisconsin. During this time, life was uncertain for many families. Bernard would end up losing two sisters to a childhood disease called diphtheria, which also attacked young Bernard at the age of 8. While he survived the disease, the lasting ramifications would affect his vocal cords permanently, giving him his signature wispy voice.
When we were young, the world was hung with beauty everywhere. We loved our home, we loved to roam midst fields and woods so fair. We tramped around St. Helens Mound, our herded cattle there. At night we'd lark till through the dark, Dad's grand old voice called, "Frere, Frere boys," he would say, and sweet became love's holy flame before the Sacred Heart.
He was baptized as Bernard Francis Casey. When he entered the order, which is tradition for us, that we would set aside our baptismal name and take on a new name. We're starting a new life. It was a name given to them by the superiors. And he was given the name of Francis Solanus. There was already a Francis in the community, a Francis of Assisi. So having those two names of Francis, they just simply took off the name of Francis Solano of Solano and just called him Solano or Solanus. So he's known as Father Solanus.
He was as normal as his brothers and sisters. There was nothing uppish about him. He didn't have airs. He didn't flout the notoriety that really came his way. But that didn't mean anything. He was so humble and just lived in God's presence all the time. And that's, I think, being present to others is just very key. I knew that this was the person that I could really talk to and tell him anything. He was just ordinary.
This was a man of prayer, but authentic prayer. So that it just wasn't concepts in his head, but that he was attuned to God, and because he was attuned to God, was attuned to the people. He felt the pain of the people that came in front of them and was compassionate towards them in their need. It didn't take long before there were a number of people who came. They wanted to see this man, who was a miracle worker by reputation, but also was a man of intense presence. People that came through these doors felt tended to. He would listen. He would pray with them. He would see what he could do for them. And so that when you came in front of him, you realized that you were the only thing in the world for him at that point.
When I think of Father Solanus, I think often of his demeanor of being able to accept so many people. No matter what walk of life people were coming in from, he was able to help them. He was able to give them a sense of confidence. He would simply say, well, let's pray about it. So then after they would say a few prayers, he would say, well, I think you're going to be all right. You know, you'll be surprised. The doctor's going to be surprised.
Blessed Solanus Casey was named after one who was also a violin player. But Blessed Solanus's violin playing was not always considered music to the ear.
Barney, as he grew up and met other situations in life, one of the things that he did do was he played a fiddle.
Again, folks, we have the great privilege and honor of having Father Solanus sing and play for us. Mother,
music is beautiful. For example, the flute, the piano, the harp, the violin, queen of them all, the cause of the cross. How sweet when properly mastered.
But it was kind of funny because later on, of course, when I entered the Capuchin order, I so proudly said, oh, I got to hear Father Solanus play the violin. And all the brothers kind of said, yes, and so did we. And it kind of stuffed their ears.
He didn't play well. You know, everybody knew that, but he enjoyed it. And he played, I remember he was playing Mother McCree. He started to play another verse on it, and he says, I'll sing.
We gather today, dear old Daddy and Mama McCree.
His voice was not strong. It was a raspy voice, but he would sing.
Perhaps he didn't always play the best, but it was delightful to him, and it was part of his personality, you might say, and his entertainment that he was able to do for people.
Bernard's call to serve God came through a few impactful life circumstances. By the age of 17, Bernard was trying his hand in a few different professions. He entered the workforce in Minnesota, starting out as a lumberjack. Then he became a prison guard.
Bernard was a very normal young man, I think, growing up. He fell in love with a young woman and proposed marriage. And her mother sent her away to a boarding school. He said, she's too young. I think she was 16. And so Bernard was heartbroken for a while. But then he got into other things.
He worked as a streetcar operator in Superior, Wisconsin, which would take him down a righteous path.
He came across a situation where there had been a young lady who had been stabbed by a young man. This happened to take place right there at the tracks of the streetcar. That was a very touching moment for him in his life, because it was with that he really felt that he needed to do something to help people in a different way. And so the following day, he ends up going to his parish pastor, inquires there as to what he might do, and so then arrangements were made for him to go into the seminary down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There he would spend the next, I believe, 6 years in the seminary. Father Solanus found it to be very difficult because of the fact that he did not have a full grade school education, didn't have high school, and so he really had to start from the beginning. Things were taught in Latin and in German, so he struggled with that. As a young man, he was about 21 or so as he entered the seminary, and there he was with much younger students, and so it was kind of a struggle for him with that. At the end of his time there at the seminary, the directors kind of feel that maybe he has just wasn't his vocation because he struggled through school so much. And so with that, he ends up leaving the seminary, but still has a feeling that he wants that he should enter religious life. So he ends up joining the Capuchins. He had a great devotion to Mary. And when he was wanting to make a decision in his life of what he might do with his vocation, he made this novena using the Litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
On the 9th day of the novena, on December 8th, he heard the words, "Go to Detroit. Go to Detroit." And so, without a doubt, he went. He left almost immediately and arrived in Detroit on Christmas Eve. You know, his family wanted him to stay home for Christmas, but no, he had to go. This was it. And so he arrived in a snowstorm on Christmas Eve to the front doors of St. Bonaventure's. When he heard the friars singing Christmas carols, that's when he says, "This is for me. This is what God wants."
At the end of his 8 years of study, the superiors really felt that it would be best not to ordain him as a full priest. He was ordained as what we refer to as a simplex priest, basically a priest that would be able to say Mass, but not to preach homilies and sermons. And he wasn't to hear confessions.
It'd be kind of like somebody going to law school, finishing their degree, but then not passing the bar. Because of that, they really didn't know what to do with him. What do you do with a preacher who can't preach? So the head of the house at that point said, well, we need somebody helping at the front door, so we'll put him on as the porter, the receptionist. I think it's a miracle that he wasn't bitter about that, but he wasn't. He just said, if this is God's will, this is God's will. I'll be the best that I can be. And God used that in tremendous ways. It didn't take long before people realized that this is somebody who wasn't just a doorkeeper, but somebody who was really a man of extraordinary prayer and of great kindness.
It's quite amazing how it just brought all the more people to him, far more than the priest that could preach and hear confessions,
I don't know how he did it, in a sense, and yet it was well received. It made a big mark on Detroit and other places where he had lived, and I think it gives some people hope.
In 1904, Solanus would then be transferred to New York, where he would spend 20 years serving at Sacred Heart Friary in Yonkers, Our Lady of Sorrows Parish in the city, and Lady of Angels in Harlem.
Well, it is a remarkable story from filmmaker Keith Famey, capturing the life of a humble doorman at a Detroit monastery who, as it turns out, made an appreciable difference in the lives of thousands upon thousands of Detroiters. Blessed Solanus Casey's journey to sainthood from filmmaker Keith Famey here on public television. We are celebrating that. We invite you to celebrate this Detroit, in fact, this worldwide story along with us. It's easy to do. Call that number on the screen. The good news is our friends from shelving.com are here. They're answering phones and, get this, doubling your gift. Matching pledges. It's one of those nights. Shelving.com. And this is our way of keeping you connected with the community through storytelling, but also shelving.com's way of supporting this community public television station. There's a number of ways that we can say thank you, including your own DVD copy of this film. If that is right for you, we have that for you. We have a terrific book on the life of Solanus Casey, and a combo with a medallion and some other cool things. But most importantly, we want you to keep connected to the story. Be inspired. Be in the spirit with the film and with public television. Call that number on the screen. That's the best way to do it. Always do it safe and secure online, but talk to one of the folks on the phone banks. Get their energy and experience this together right on public television.
It's a beautiful story that's playing out here on public television, thanks in part to the support of viewers just like you. So if you want to see more incredible storytelling here on public television, we invite you to join us as a member. So easy to do. The number is 859-9887, and we hope that you'll join us right now as a member. We've got a copy of the DVD here for you. It's got the film and so much more. We hope that you'll enjoy this for many years to come. Maybe share it with a loved one that you think would enjoy this story. That's our gift to you with your donation of $72. We've also got the book. This is incredible. Images of America, Blessed Solanus Casey. Wonderful storytelling and also fantastic photographs. It's filled with pictures of Blessed Solanus Casey and his life, all of the important moments, so many others that are chronicling his incredible journey as we're seeing play out in the film. So this is a great way for us to thank you for your donation of $84. Best of all is that great combo. We can include the DVD of the film, the book, plus we will also include the Blessed Solanus Casey medal. It's a beautiful pendant that you can enjoy, maybe share with somebody else. It's our gift to you for supporting public television right now around this film. Call the number on your screen. Your donations are being matched, so your contribution will be doubled. A great time to support public TV. The number's there on your screen, or you can give online at dptv.org. Thanks.
Well, and of course, supporting doing our favorite thing, telling the stories of Detroiters doing remarkable things. I'd like you to now meet Mike Shadowski from shelving.com, a Detroiter doing something remarkable for public television, but matching gifts and doing the sponsorship. Thank you for doing that. I also want to learn more about you and what your remarkable story is, certainly serving Metro Detroiters.
Yeah, so our growing up as kids, it was instilled in us to always give back to the community. Mm-hmm. So I've been involved with the Capuchin Soup Kitchen about 34 years as a volunteer. Yeah. Started in my early 20s and have fell in love with the work the Capuchin brothers provide for the community, where they take zero government assistance. Everything is made 100% through donations, mm-hmm. all the work that they provide.
And so I know you're heartily involved in so many things going back 3 decades and moving forward. Also, I should mention shelving.com. You're one of the owners. Matching gifts are on this program, also an extraordinary measure of your support. But you live by example, and the Casey Center and the Capuchin Soup Kitchen and those things makes it real easy for you to do those things that you feel are important.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we sponsor 3 events a year to support the Capuchin works. One of them is Benefit on the Bay in August. Then we have Capuchins on Cast coming up October 15th. And then Bocce with the Brothers in January, where 100% of all the monies raised goes to support the Capuchin ministries.
Well, it's remarkable. We're going to share some more time as we go throughout the evening. I want to just thank you so much for your generosity, supporting, of course, the Capuchins, but also an extra level of support for public television. Mike Shadowski, always thank you for being really concerned and involved with folks here in Southeast Michigan.
Well, thank you for getting the word out on Father Solanus for us.
We'll get it going. More of the film to come right here on public television. But right now, follow Mike's lead. Call that number on the screen and make a generous donation at whatever giving level is right for you.
One of the incredible things about Blessed Solanus Casey was his ability to make a difference just as one simple person. And he would make the difference one-on-one with every person that he came across. And in a lifetime of that incredible mission, look what he was able to accomplish. That is a great message for all of us. And if you're wondering about a great way for you to get involved right now, here's one way to make a good, simple difference. It's to support public television so that we can continue to bring you these incredible stories just like this. Fascinating, educational, wholesome, rich television that is supporting people in our community. That's what it's all about. And so we encourage you right now to take that step, become involved, do something good today by supporting this film. The number is on your screen, or you can go online to dptv.org. Get yourself or someone you love a copy of the film Blessed Solanus Casey's Journey to Sainthood. Our gift to you when you make a donation of $72 or $6 monthly as a sustainer. The book is also fantastic. It's chronicling his incredible life through stories and pictures. There are dozens of pictures throughout this book. So fascinating. Put them together, even better. We can thank you with the book and the DVD, and we'll also throw in the medal, the wonderful pendant that you can share. Wear it around your neck or have it in your home so that you can just remember to do good one-on-one every day. This is a great chance to do that. Call the number or give online, dptv.org, and thanks.
Back with the filmmaker Keith Famey, who put this together. Two more segments of the program to come. Always a great admirer and consumer of your work. I know when you throw yourself into a project, oftentimes you'll say to me, once I got in it, it is my privilege. What stuck with you? What was the keeper in this one?
You know, I think all documentary filmmakers will tell you that when they get into a film, at least I do personally, you get very emotionally involved, learning the story. You really want to. Our job as a filmmaker is to help the individuals tell their story, and whether it's a historical story or whether you're interviewing someone about cancer, whatever the state, it's our job to help that story come to life. Yeah. And so you have to invest personally into that. And you know, Solanus' story, it's a wonderful story about humanitarian, about empathy, and about everything he represented as a person. But for me, what stood out was a little boy named Finn. His mother, Finn, who's in the film with his mom, he was born with some heart defects and had surgery at a very young age. And he coded for like a significant period of time, and they really were preparing that they weren't going to, and they worked on him in the hospital for like a half hour or so, and his mom had gone and prayed to Father Solanus, and they were able to revitalize him, and the doctors came to her, you know, and I'm filming this story and I'm listening to her, and the doctors came to her and said, we're not sure if you believe in miracles, but you have one.
They're playing us back to the film. Next segment coming up. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment or so. Keith Famey, filmmaker. Blessed Journey. Solanus Casey heading back to it right now. Enjoy.
The history of the Franciscan friars dates back to the 13th century, where they were founded in Italy by Saint Francis of Assisi. They live a life of simplicity, choosing to live and work among the poor, seeking out the light in the darkest corners of the world.
The term friar is much like the term brother. It was a very impressive lifestyle that was touching many, many people.
The Franciscan friar life today is much different than it was during the time of Father Solanus. The friars back in the earlier days were men who maybe spent a lot of time in prayer itself, as well as manual work, It was very common for us to have farms and things of this sort.
St. Francis came up with a robe, much of what our robe looks like today. Then, as the Franciscan community grew and there became more and more friars throughout the world, there were different groups that kind of changed the habit a little bit one way or the other, but basically it had the hood on it. The people of the neighborhood, referring to our habit, which they decided to put on a larger hood or caparone, a capuche, and so they were known as the friars with the caparone, the capuche. And so then we became known as the Capuchin Franciscans.
The Capuchins are a branch of the Franciscans that have sought to, with purity, follow the teachings of Francis of Assisi. We're one of the many reforms through the years of the Franciscan family.
It was a tradition with the Capuchins to wear a beard, and not to trim them either, just to simply to let them grow long. And so many of the friars, that's the way it was for those who were older. They'd have big long beards on them. With Father Solanus, he wasn't too keen on it, but when he entered the order, but he ended up growing one, and it became, you might say, a hallmark to him to a certain extent.
We've tried to be faithful to our service of the poor and to prayer, that those should be things that are hallmarks of our community.
The Capuchins, when we came here to Detroit back in the 1880s, they wanted to come here to Detroit. There was no parish for them to take over at the time, and so the bishop said, well, we have a cemetery outside of the city limits of Detroit here. We could have you take care of that, take care of any funerals that go on there. So that's how we ended up here at St. Bonaventure Monastery. We're right across the street from the Mount Eliot Cemetery, which is a Catholic cemetery. Within a few years, things developed in a much different way. People started coming here to ask of the friars for spiritual help and things of this sort. I can remember when we first came in, beer was always kind of a part of something that we would have. In fact, we used to have a keg of beer, and so we'd have a tap, As far as bread making goes, that has always been a very strong part of the Franciscans, to make their own bread, good staple of life. Many of the brother friars would know how to make bread.
By the time Solanus made his way back to Michigan in 1924, Detroit was on the rise. The population had increased to about 1.2 million people, drawn in by the high-paying jobs in the automobile industry. Solanus would once again assume the role of porter at St. Bonaventure Church. By 1929, the Great Depression was in full effect. The country was in turmoil. Extreme shortage of jobs made everyday families finding themselves taking handouts. The effect on society was seen on every street corner in the once bustling Motor City. This financial downturn resulted in long lines in hopes of getting something to eat. Then emerged the Capuchin Soup Kitchen.
The Capuchins, wherever they are throughout the world, would always reach out to the hungry, and often poor people would come to the door, and he or whoever was on the door would give a sandwich to somebody who said they needed something to eat. Well, that worked until the Depression hit. Then instead of having, 5 people a day, they end up having 200 people a day.
The Depression, of course, affected everyone in the entire country, and the friars weren't wealthy. It wasn't like people came to the monastery because the friars had a great deal, or Father Solanus had money to hand out. Many of the stories of the Capuchins in Detroit, and Father Solanus particularly, have to do with helping people suddenly have hope, to get through the day. That's where the whole idea of the soup kitchen was. It was the intuition of Father Solanus to say, there's a brother or a sister in need, and tell others, and others will help.
They formed a group, and they had a building that was adjacent to the church, which later was to become the soup kitchen.
And once they started, a meal for people on the street, then it grew very rapidly. And it wasn't long before we were feeding thousands of people a day.
We're at the Meldrum Site Soup Kitchen. In terms of the number of meals we serve about 1,700 meals every day. I think one of the things that Solanus Casey did very well is to respect the human dignity of each person. When we sit at the table, we come together as human beings.
Today, Capuchins can be found in Montana, Florida, New York, Illinois, and many other states across the nation. They are also present in over 100 different countries throughout the globe, reaching as far as Japan, Africa, and South America.
We're now present, I think, in 120 countries, perhaps, or something like that.
Capuchins have gone to the place where there is a particular need and where often others didn't want to go or weren't able to go, in places that are difficult. The call then is to be able to see who isn't being taken care of. So we look for places like that to be able to serve.
The friars today, I believe, are perhaps most well known with their ministry of helping the poor. Father Larry Weber has gone out to Montana, and that's where he's living now, and he's working among the Native American community out there.
This is a people whose life was on the open range. They lived, they hunted, they had a whole lifestyle that, as Europeans invaded these areas of the United States, were taken away from them.
The Capuchins came and made efforts to learn the language and communicate their faith to the people as well as support them. We are in the St. Benedict Joseph Church here on St. Labre Indian School campus. This church reflects both the culture of Cheyenne people, Plains Indian people, as well as our Catholic faith.
Well, we Capuchins have been here with the Northern Cheyenne for 92 years, and for many years we were involved in a lot of the institutional parts of the mission, the education. Today, our main role is to be in the parish. We care for the pastoral needs of the people and at the school. And so we're called as Franciscans to give that witness of sacrifice for the sake of the kingdom of God. This week here at St. Labre, there's the celebration of Native American Week. There's been all sorts of activities. Homecoming here at St. Labray was this week, and it was a wonderful game. St. Labray was happy. They won the game. It was a tremendous spirit because they were playing the other Cheyenne team, which is just across the divide from us in Lame Deer. The Cheyenne people are very much into games. You'll see all sorts of things that are part of their culture of competition. You'll see arrow throwing. Even the teepee building. You'll see it's important for them to be competitive and to show their ingenuity, their strength, their ability. And that's an important thing for our young people to feel, to know that they have potential, that they have strength and the ability to have fun. Getting into our Native American culture, so much of that is found in the powwow. And the joy that is there, also the intricacy of the costuming. These things take much time for families, and they're expensive. But it's not just that they go and sew up a costume. There is prayer. Whatever they're wearing has been prayed over. There is spirit in it, and it is a sacred thing. The way they dance is a part of their soul. Little tiny children you'll see dancing. They teach them these things very early on because it's a part of their pride, their heritage. They're trying to hold on to who they are. And the powwow is just a moment to come together and bring a lot of those elements together and to celebrate that heritage. So our presence really is one of being a brother, being present to accompany. I think that's so important, and I think that's what the people appreciate and remember of the friars that have been here, that they were there for them, that they were kind and good and loving.
Capuchin for 30 plus years and have spent the last 3 years here in Montana at St. Denis Parish, as well as 3 other parishes here on the Crow Reservation. This is the 3rd church that this congregation has used in its 125 years. What's most significant would be the icons here, the Crow series icons painted by John Giuliani, and they represent events in the life of Mary and Jesus. So Gabriel is bedecked, in crow attire, and so is Mary, and they're in a teepee, and the Holy Spirit, is a hawk in these images, so a bird that makes more sense out here than a dove, perhaps. The paintings include text, crow text, which also connects them, very much to this place. It's not so much about evangelizing at this stage of the game. I think the goal is to be with people who are hurting, and there's a lot of hurt here. When Father Solanus passed away, the mourners that came to see him came in the thousands to pay their respects. This was a testament to this Capuchin Franciscan friar porter, who was simply opening the door for those who are less fortunate and in need of compassion, empathy, and consoling.
Blessed Solanus Casey's Journey to Sainthood, the film by filmmaker Keith Famey, narrated by the great Chuck Gatica, who really got himself into the spirit of this film, of course, supported by the Capuchins, some of whom are here in the studio with us, going to talk a little bit more as we move forward. And then the entire evening is supported by our friends at shelving.com. Here's what they're doing: sponsoring this in-studio event to double your gift and bring the volunteer crew as well to the phone banks. Mike Shadowski and his crew are underwriting this thing in support of public television, and of course, with an interest in the Capuchins, which is a familiar place that Mike finds himself in. We're going to talk to him about that coming up. But right now, get your own copy of the film. One more segment to come. You can have your own DVD copy of it when you make a contribution of support. We also have the book, Blessed Solanus Casey, from author Patricia Montgomery. This is a lot of great pictures and archives and expansions on smaller stories that all re-up to the larger story of this man's life and influence. And of course, a great combo. We're throwing in this really beautiful medal as well. All in support of public TV. Do not wait, though. Call that number on the screen. Talk to one of the volunteers from shelving.com. Make a contribution. Get involved. Be in that spirit with us. We'll tell more great Detroit stories with your all-important contribution of support. But we got to hear from you. Call that number on the screen or online, dptv.org.
It's easy to do, and don't forget your pledges are being doubled right now. So when you make a donation right now, it will be matched by our friends at shelving.com. They are on the phones right now taking your calls. It's so much fun to connect with a volunteer. It's the best way to make your donation. Of course, if it's easier for you, you can also go online to dptv.org, but the number is 800-859-9887, and that is by far the most fun way to do it. Connect with another human that believes in the mission that you do here on public television, telling these great local stories. A great way to do that is by calling and getting yourself a copy of the DVD, Blessed Solanus Casey's Journey to Sainthood. We also have the book. This is great. It's filled with so many pictures. I think you'll be really pleased with this when you receive it as our thank you for your donation of $84. Filled with so many different images and pictures, plus stories and quotes from the people that knew him best. It's really, really fascinating, something that will really help you to remember the story and just reflect upon it as you sort of glance through the pictures and remember what it's like to make the difference in just one person's life, just one person at a time. That's really what he believed in. The combo is also great because we will include the DVD and the book plus the medal, and this is great. You know, it's a beautiful pendant. It's not garish. It's not fancy. That's not what beloved Solanus Casey would want. It's simple, just like him. But it does remind you to do the good in the world that you want to see. And so we want you to do that right now. It's our thank you to you in appreciation of your donation to support public television. Call the number now. Make that connection with us. We thank you so very much.
Let us now welcome in award-winning writer, journalist, and the author of the book, Blessed Solanus Casey. Patricia Montgomery is here. Patty, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
I want to talk about this book, but before we get to all of that, we remember the beatification at Ford Field. What is the current status of the road towards sainthood for Solanus Casey?
Well, the Capuchins have received multiple instances of unexplained healings. And what they do is they have folks investigate those healings and those unexplained recoveries. And they've investigated those, and they've sent, as I understand it, 1 or 2 cases to the authorities in Rome at the Vatican, and those are perhaps under review right now. But we're one miracle away from Detroit having its own saint.
Well, nobody keeps it closer to the vest than the Vatican, so we are on a miracle watch. So the book, Blessed Solanus Casey, Images of America, what was your inspiration to get started?
Well, the book has more than 200 photos, and I was inspired to create this book is because I used to work at the Detroit Free Press, and I covered many, many issues pertaining to the Catholic Church. And when Father Solanus was beatified, the Free Press called me back out of retirement to cover the beatification. And I remember covering the beatification, being in the press box and watching all the events unfold. And at the end of the ceremony, I remember thinking, I want to watch this by myself on my own, because I know just taking notes and trying to do the reporting, I missed some of the grandeur and some of the majesty of that ceremony. And there was a feeling, I think, at the end of that ceremony that people didn't want it to end. They could have stayed in their seats. They could have listened to more music. They could have listened to more stories about Father Solanus. And there were people there from all over the world, and I thought to myself, the images from this day alone, people will cherish and will want to see again. And that was part of the inspiration for doing the book.
It's such a rare Detroit event. In fact, the station, Detroit PBS, covered the whole thing, yes. Which is rare and special for us. But going back, an incredible life, really started as a person that you wouldn't think would be on such a high road, and maybe that's why he always had this common touch, this connection.
Very much so. When Father Solanus was studying to be a priest, he got almost booted out of the local seminary in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because he wasn't a good speaker of German. And Milwaukee was populated by German immigrants, and they thought, this is what we need. We need a priest who can speak German well. And because he didn't understand it well or speak it well, when he was ordained a Capuchin friar, they limited his ministry. They said, you can't give complex sermons, and you're not going to have the full role of responsibilities that a normal priest would have.
And the entire, pardon the phrase, compound at the Solanus Center from Wisconsin, but he really embodied Detroit so very much, and I think we all return the favor.
Absolutely. And one of the benefits of me doing this book is I can't give a speech anywhere about it or a presentation without somebody raising their hand and said, my family was helped by Father Solanus. I'm here today because of Father Solanus. And it's a very moving experience for me to hear those stories. I remember I was in a store once, and a fellow was holding up my book, was holding up that book and pondering whether to buy it. And I'm thinking, oh, please, buy the book, buy the book. And he puts it in his cart, and then I go racing over and I say, I'm the author of this book. And the man's daughter says, he's here today walking at age 93 because of Father Solanus, because when he was born, the doctor said he wouldn't walk again, and his mother brought him to Father Solanus, and Father Solanus said he'll be fine, and he was fine that day at age 93.
Well, maybe in one of those stories we will find the miracle we are waiting for. Patricia Montmurray, author, Blessed Solanus Casey, the book. Patty, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Much more of the film is coming up right here on Detroit Public Television. If you missed the beginning, don't fear. We do have it here on DVD. You can enjoy it again as part of your collection, and also maybe share it with a loved one. That's a great thing to do. $72 donation. This will be our thank you to you in appreciation for that generosity. The book is also fantastic. I highly recommend that. I think you'll be really pleased with it when you open it and you turn the pages, seeing so many of these beautiful photographs, learning a little bit more. It helps to visualize it sometimes, and this book really helps you do that. The combo is also great. It has a lot of those pictures from the book plus the DVD combined. When you make a contribution right now of $132, that's our big thank you to you, along with the very special Solanus Casey medal. It's a beautiful little pendant. You know, it's not flashy, it's nothing fancy. It's just that simple reminder every day, and on the back it just says, pray for us. It's a wonderful thing to have, carry with you, or have in your home. Just that little reminder to reflect and to do something good for somebody else. That's what Blessed Solanus Casey really taught us to do. So that's a great way for us to show our appreciation for your donation. It's so easy to do. We hope that you'll connect with our volunteers. They're just over here taking your phone calls. The number is 800-859-9887. Call us now, and thanks.
Back with Keith Famey and Brother Richard Merling from the Capuchins. Well, this is an incredible film, Keith. You know, I could tell you that all night, and you'd listen to me.
Just honored to be here.
No, I really appreciate it. But also, what's also so, I guess, ennobling for me is that you brought folks from the film. You're doing some incredible work in the film, Richard. It also makes me want to ask you what inspired you to become a Capuchin friar. This life that you've taken on, as we're seeing in the film, I'm asking you in real life.
Yeah.
What's your inspiration?
Well, I'm sure it was probably Father Solanus Casey who was the inspiration behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of interesting because I had met him, of course, in early life, but
you were 15, right?
I was 15, yes, and never gave it much thought, you know, or at least it wasn't in my mind. And I had later on, when I was 21 or so, I had made a retreat with the Holy Name Society from our parish.
Yeah.
And at that time, over the weekend, I kind of thought, you know, you just might look about religious life. And so then I responded and went down to the monastery and inquired about becoming a Capuchin.
Well, why a friar? Why, out of all the different paths or journeys you could take, why did you pick the Capuchin Franciscan friars?
Well,
what was it about their life?
I guess it was just an inspiring thing to me insofar as what they were doing and so forth. And in a way, I really kind of feel that it goes all the way back to the time of our meeting with Father Solanus when I was a young man. At the time, I suppose he probably planted that seed within me. You know?
And I guess demonstrating once again that sometimes the most significant moments in our lives, we don't recognize them when they're happening, but looking back, they make sense in reverse.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate that. We're going to continue our conversation, more of the film to come. Right now, we want you to get involved. Call the number on the screen. Be in the spirit with us. Make that all-important contribution right now.
The best way to support the programs you love on Detroit Public TV is to become a sustaining member. You set up your credit card to make automatic contributions every month. $5, $10, or any amount that works for you. It's a lot easier on your budget, and you'll never have to remember about renewing your membership again. Most important, you will be ensuring a steady flow of support to all the great shows on this station. Become a sustainer today. Call 800-859-9887 or visit dptv.org.
Heading to the conclusion, the finale of this film, I have to say it is very inspiring, not just the work, the film, but also to have the folks here in our studio.
Well, it's great to learn a little bit more, whether you're, someone that's Catholic, that's had this sort of ingrained in your education, or whether you're someone that just is inspired by the story and the local Detroit point of view. I think everyone can take something away from this really incredible film.
The learning how people are helping people. Pretty simple message. More of this film to come. It's terrific. Enjoy the conclusion and join us back here. Make your all-important pledge.
Faith, at least to me, would be simply a confidence and a trust that things are going to be all right, or that God is there, and not to worry.
Having faith makes you see things differently, treat people differently. And so I cannot imagine a life without it.
The way Father Solanus put it is, he said, "Blessed be God in all his designs." The beauty of Father Solanus is there were times that he spoke a word of revelation that brought healing, and he would tell somebody, your child is going to recover from this illness, don't worry, and it happened. But there were also times where he had the spiritual insight, and he would tell somebody who came and said, my father is ill, pray for him. And there were times, it was reported, he would kind of quietly say, I'll pray for your father. Be ready that it may not be what you want, but it'll all be okay. And they saw, even though the way they wanted their prayer to be answered wasn't answered, Father Solanus got it right. And so it's the sense of you bless God and all his designs and whatever is on the horizon. Another act of faith and trust is when he would say, thank God ahead of time. What he means by that is you've asked God to intervene. He's got a divine providence and a divine plan. So thank him now for whatever's going to come next and know that you can trust in him.
The blessing of the sick for us traditionally has been a special day on Wednesdays. That is usually a prayer service. Then as well, we are using the relics of the wood of the cross of Christ. Those relics are used to bless individuals. That blessing really kind of takes care of many other situations in people's lives. It's not just that they have to be sick in order to be coming here for that blessing.
Many faithful individuals around the world agree that miracles are often referred to as favors, the favor of God. But what is a miracle exactly? What causes a miracle to occur?
Miracles, as we understand them as people of faith, are those things that don't really have a natural explanation.
An official miracle of the Roman Catholic Church needs to go through all sorts of scientific and medical investigations and theological investigations. And finally, then, it is approved in Rome. Then it's officially a miracle of the Roman Catholic Church.
The deepest things in our lives transcend science. Love, affection, gratitude, just that sense that there's a plan and a purpose, that there's a right and a wrong.
There are miracles that happen every day. The fact that we continue to breathe or see the sunrise, for many people, that's a miracle every day. There's so much that we can see.
In the case of Blessed Solanus, the standards are pretty high. By virtue of shared stories, people would report many miracles that they would say Father Solanus granted.
One in particular is of a young couple that came in with their 6-year-old son. And the father was carrying the son, and the mother was right behind them. And they took their place of seating over here at the reception area and waited for their turn to come. When it was time for them, just the mother got up and came over to the desk to see Father Solanus. She sat down, told Father Solanus about her son, unable to walk since birth, and he is 6 years old now. Father Solanus listened to her story, and then all of a sudden he turned over towards the son and said, "Come here, little boy." And the mother said, "Father, I told you he doesn't walk." He said, "Come here, little boy," and the child got off the father's lap and walked over to the desk. And this was one of many, many types of stories that would take place in reference to Father Solanus and things happening almost immediately before people's eyes.
And Solanus would be the first one to say it wasn't because of him, that he was just an instrument of, just like any of us can be instruments, but that God was merciful upon the people that were asking for assistance.
There was a lady that came up from Panama. She visited here at the monastery. She went out to see Father Solanus and prayed there. She really wasn't thinking of herself. She heard an inner voice say to her, "And what about yourself?" She knelt back down and she said, "Father Solanus, I've had this skin disease since my early childhood. I'm now in my late 40s. It still bothers me. Could you possibly help me out?" With that, she got up, returned to her room, and she noticed that her skin was flaking. The scaling was falling off.
Y cuando yo me senté, que yo me vi las piernas, los pedazos de la piel cayeron ahí en el piso, pero yo no me atrevía a verme la mano con miedo de que yo estuviera sangrando. Pero cuando yo me vi las manos, yo vi que no tenía sangre en las manos. Y yo pensaba que la vida mía estaba acabando, que ya mi vida estaba terminando, pero el Señor me enseñó que no es así. Yo sé que el Padre Solano, donde yo voy, Él está conmigo.
For me, the word miracle is very important in my life. 23 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare brain cancer, and my great friend who sent me to the ultimate oncologist at Duke, I was given 20% chance of a 5-year survival. I had been very scared, but have great faith, as is my family. My father, who never asked for favors, called everyone under the sun, especially our dear friend Cardinal Shaka. Cardinal Shaka said he would say a mass for me every day. He came in 2 days later to see my father, and with the intercession of Spain to Father Solanus, said, I don't think John should take his chemotherapy. I had been told that 3 days from then I was about to take the chemotherapy, and had been praying to Father Solanus for the healing. If it hadn't been for Father Solanus' intercession, I would have gone through the normal treatment and clearly would not be here today.
I'm Tricia Collier. We're from Nicholasville, Kentucky. This is Finn. He's 6. So when Finn was born, he was born with 4 congenital heart defects. He had a quick surgery at 5 days old to hold him off till he was big enough to have the big surgery. When he was 4 years old, he had his 4th surgery. 6 weeks later, he went into congestive heart failure. So he coded for an hour. After 30 minutes, neurologically, you're usually gone. We're going to pray, but we're going to ask for the intercessions of Father Solanus Casey. An hour later, I came out and said, we have a pulse. And so the doctors came in and they said, if you prayed for a miracle, you got it, because we don't know how this happened otherwise.
When I was sick and when I died, Jesus sent me back.
And faith is everything. I don't know how people who don't have faith get through things. So none of those things should have happened, and they did. And I truly believe it was just because we asked for help, and we asked for prayer, and we counted on a lot of heavenly beings that night, but I know that Father Casey especially was one of them.
Father Solanus kept detailed journals of some 6,000 personal prayers that were requested of him. Of those, hundreds were said to have been answered, affecting the outcome of a variety of diagnosed diseases as well as general hardships of life. The official process for acknowledging someone as a saint in the Catholic Church is not an easy one. As with miracles, which are ordinarily examined as part of this process, the Roman Catholic Church must complete a thorough investigation into the life and writings of an individual in order for them to be publicly recognized as a saint. The title Blessed indicates that after this thorough investigation, the Pope has confirmed that through intercession of someone such as Solanus Casey, God has performed a documented miracle. Recognizing such a miracle, or in some cases proclaiming someone a martyr, allows the Church to confirm someone as blessed, which is the last step before sainthood.
Candidacy, you might say, for a person to become a saint varies. For some, it has been at least a couple hundred years. Some it has only been a few years, and others, again, like Father Solanus, it's been 60 years for him to be acknowledged as a blessed within the Church. Now we take Mother Teresa. It was only a few years after her death. It was because she was so famous and so well known, and her holiness was very obvious to the world as to who she was. And so with that, they moved very quickly with acknowledging her as a blessed and now as Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Well, the beatification took place this past November of 2017, and it was on November the 18th to be exact. It took place at Ford Field. This was one of the first among the many to come, that the beatification took place within the local area. Prior to that, it had always been done in Rome.
As we get closer to Saturday's beatification service at Ford Field, the stories of Father Solanus Casey's life are being proudly told.
Father Solanus is now considered a blessed of the Church. Blessed is a very significant title, introduction into sainthood. Father Solanus, when he died back in 1957, he was buried in our community cemetery outside here in the monastery gardens. And his remains were there for 30 years, and then he was exhumed as part of the process for beatification and sainthood. So they brought the body up and brought it into this very space here, and they examined it. Much to our surprise, it was well intact. It was just almost like the day that he had passed away. Then he was placed into a new casket, and that casket was then brought into church, to an area whereby people could come and visit the tomb of Solanus within the church. And it's beautiful to see the faith of people and the expression of what they are here for, and the confidence and trust that God is with him and he is God's instrument in helping people out, continuing since his death of 60 years ago.
In 2009, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, so I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. I have a lot of faith in Catholicism and just in general, and I believe in his power. I believe in the power of a higher being. I believe in everything. I just have a tremendous amount of faith. I know this is a place to be, pretty much.
The next step will be as him to be proclaimed a saint, and that will most likely be done in Rome itself. A postulator is the person that would be the one that would do an in-depth study of his life to come to some conclusion as to whether the person truly lived a virtuous life to a heroic degree. The Pope's part of it would be basically to go by the story, the evidence that is being given to him, that he would respond to in advancing his cause to sainthood. And once he is proclaimed a saint, then it becomes universal acknowledgement.
In the Catholic Church, a first-class relic refers to the physical remains of a saint. There are lesser-ranking relics, such as a piece of clothing or even something touched to the tomb of the saint or blessed. In the case of Blessed Solanus Casey, among the first-class relics are 8 large pieces of bone from his hand that are sealed in special monstrances. These relics are intended for public veneration by the faithful and are often used to bless them.
Well, the feast day is a special day set aside each year for a saint or for various religious occasions that we want to make very well known or to be acknowledged. For Father Solanus Casey, then, it was decided that July the 30th would be his feast day. Coming up to the feast day, we usually have what we call a 9-day novena, and it's 9 days of special prayer for that particular prayer to that particular saint and asking them to intercede for us in a particular way.
We're blessed to be here at the National Shrine of the Little Flower Basilica. We're in Royal Oak, Michigan. We know that Father Solanus visited here and prayed here during his lifetime. We took that occasion to bring out the chair on which he prayed. Archbishop Vigneron will be here. His family grew up with knowledge of Blessed Solanus, and so to this very day it's a blessing that he, a son of Detroit, can be a part of all of these great celebrations. We also brought a first-class relic of Blessed Solanus. A relic is actually a part of a saint's body. In this case, it's part of his finger. What's really beautiful about it is that he's called the porter, the doorman. And so we have one of the bones that would have been part of that ministry when he opened the door to so many others. Those who come here will be a part of something that has never happened before, and that is including and honoring Blessed Solanus in a Mass in this particular way.
Today at the Solanus Casey Center in Detroit, there is a museum dedicated to the life of Blessed Solanus Casey, as well as the tomb that he is buried in, where people of all walks of life come to pray, often for some aspect of their life.
We're here at the Solanus Casey Center and St. Bonaventure Chapel. The center was built in 1999 to set up a place whereby pilgrims could come and visit the tomb of Father Solanus Casey, as well as a place to tell his story. Father Solanus was a very simple man, and as you can see from these items that we have here in the case, these were basically all of his personal belongings he had. Of course, his sandals, which were very simple. Very often he would be wearing those sandals barefoot, even during the winter months. Then we have a couple prayer books here that are opened, that of his personal little prayers that he had. And then we have his rosary that was on the side of his habit. And I believe that there's at least 5 decades, if not 15 decades of beads on there. This here is a very significant stained glass window that we have. This happens to be from the Church of St. Michael's, where Father Solanus made his first communion at. First communion was very significant to Father Solanus. There will be also the desk in which he used at the front office of the monastery. And there are some very significant pieces of art that are there. We have the harmonica here that he used. He enjoyed being able to entertain people from time to time. He was really a man of about life and enjoyed life.
Mr. Art Van Elslander had great respect for Father Solanus and recognized the Solanus Casey Center as a place of hope for all. Instrumental in the center's opening in 2002, Mr. Van Elslander's commitment continues today through the A.A. Van Elslander Foundation, underwriting the center's current renovation and expansion, enhancing the surrounding neighborhood, and honoring the legacy of Father Solanus Casey. What can we all learn from Blessed Solanus? How do we measure one's time on earth? In the case of Blessed Solanus Casey, his life was one of compassion for anyone who came to his door.
There is something that we can all learn from Father Solanus. Living in a way that is unpretentious, but always loving towards others.
He's not just a saint for Detroit. He's a saint for all of us.
His life, somehow or another, was able to touch people in the simplicity that he lived.
He welcomed, he listened, he prayed with people, he saw what he could do for them. And because of that, we can do the things that he did. We can do the same things that Solanus did. It's just that he did it with such intensity and such purity of heart.
The idea of how to be grateful, how to be the person who answers the door.
It's that witness of life that we can all imitate. We can all say, what's my calling today? What good can I do? This man who placed himself last which really means he served others ahead of his own needs, became such a powerful witness that he's more famous than thousands of other people to this day.
Well, it's one of those experiences that goes far beyond television, far beyond filmmaking. It is a communal experience of reverence, inspiration, and getting into the Spirit, all based on Bernard Casey became the Blessed Solanus, Father Solanus Casey, impacting thousands, if not millions, of people here, starting in Wisconsin, then coming to Detroit, and of course, his legacy lives on. Good evening, Fred Nahat here in the studio with Lauren Smith, lots of other special guests in this, shelving.com, so involved in the community, certainly with the Capuchin causes, and here tonight with public television matching pledges. So Mike Shadowski is with us. We're going to talk to Mike about, well, his idea around supporting this community and making this place a little bit better, a little bit brighter for all of us, which I guess is the thread that pulls through this entire film from Keith Famey. Hey, do not wait. We have copies of the film for you. We have a terrific book. We have some other great thank you gifts. But get in that spirit. Be inspired. Call that number on the screen. Talk to one of the community-minded volunteers from shelving.com. Make your gift and have this experience with us, learning more, being more. Thanks to public television and PBS, and here in Detroit and across Canada, it is Detroit Public TV. We are waiting to hear from you.
In these final moments in enjoying this program, we encourage you right now to support this program and also public television, allowing us to go out and bring you more incredible films just like the one we've been enjoying together this evening. And we'd love to share a copy of the film on DVD when you make a donation right now of $72 or more. That's going to be our big thank you to you so that you can enjoy this film as part of your collection. Share it with a loved one. This is, it'd be great to watch as part of a Bible study group or something like that. I just think it's a great thing to have and to treasure for a long, long time. We've also got the book. This is fantastic as well. A chronicle of Blessed Solanus Casey as told through lots of stories, through lots of gorgeous pictures and photographs that just really give you some insight into those little moments that made up such a big life. A man that made such an incredible impact, not only here in Detroit, but across the world with so many thousands of people. This book really tells that story, so we encourage you to go for this. The combo is great because we can also include the DVD along with the book. That is going to be our thank you to you when you make a donation of $132 right now. And it's really special. It comes along with a nice little pendant medal. This is the Blessed Solanus Casey pendant. It's really simple, but it's just this charming reminder of what he meant to all of us. On the back it says, "Simply pray for us." It's fantastic. Our gift to you as part of that great combo when you dial the number on your screen or give online at dptv.org. Thanks.
Back with Mike Shadowski, one of the owners of shelving.com, our great, generous sponsor matching all gifts during this program tonight. So check in with us right now. The volunteers are on the phone banks. But Mike, I know this is a small index of how you support this community. A lot of it involves the Capuchins and some great events that I think bring people together, not only to raise the funds, but this like-mindedness, this sensibility that together there's almost nothing we can't do.
Well, they say many hands make a light load. Yeah. And so we put on 3 benefits a year to support the Capuchin Soup Kitchen. The next one will be August 28th, called Benefit on the Bay, held at McInrae's. October 15th at the Detroit Club. And then we have one in January 24th, Bocce with the Brothers.
So the Bocce and the Bay event, long-standing, but Capuchins on Cast is something that's just proving one more time that you continue to reinvent and continue to try new things. This is something new, 1 year under the belt, and it continues. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Well, about that one, our goal was not as important to raise money, but to bring the awareness to the younger generation so they can pass the torch and they can take over. So we wanted to get the younger generation involved and introduce them to the Capuchin Soup Kitchen and the work that they do.
And that goes back to the original sort of mission message of your family company, to pass that down so that will read down to the next generation so they continue to be involved. That continues to be important to you.
That's correct, yes.
Well, Mike Shadowski, shelving.com. The phone volunteers are here doing something great for public television. We appreciate that so very much. We also honor all of your service to the Capuchins throughout the year.
Well, thank you for having us today and supporting the Capuchin Soup Kitchen.
That's wonderful. We encourage you to show a measure of your support. Get involved. Learn more about this entire effort, including the film from Keith Famey. What are you waiting for? Call that number on the screen or online, dptv.org.
We're really excited that your donations are going to be doubled. So if you give $100 tonight, that becomes $200 for public television. It's so great. A big thanks to our friends at shelving.com. I see them over there. Most of them are on the phone, but there are a few that are not, and they are waiting for you. The number 800-859-9887. Dial that right now and get yourself a copy of this incredible film on DVD, Blessed Solanus Casey's Journey to Sainthood. It has really been an inspiring evening. The story is all there. And, you know, we're one miracle away from sainthood. It's really an incredible journey. It's all been chronicled here in this film. And that's our thank you to you when you support public television tonight with a gift of $72. The book is also fantastic. This is Images of America, Blessed Solanus Casey. His life told through dozens of beautiful photographs that chronicle his life from his, early years all the way up to the end of his life, and even beyond, some of the impact that he's made across the city of Detroit and really throughout the world. It's all chronicled here in this beautiful book. Our thank you to you when you make a donation of $84. And I think the combo is really best of all. It's got the book, it's got the DVD, so you can watch the film again and again, share that with someone, bring it into your church and your Bible study groups. I just think it's a really fun way to connect, something to show and something to talk about. I think it's so great. And don't forget that along with part of that combo, we'll also include the beautiful pendant, the medal. Just on the back, it just says "Pray for us." It's so simple, so unique. It's our gift to you when you support public television right now. Call the number or give online at dptv.org. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, I'm back with filmmaker Keith Famey and Father David Pruce and Brother Richard Merling and Brother Jerry Johnson. Did I get it right?
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. All right, well, Keith, starting with you, I know you were ensconced, literally embedded in this, and it took many, many months to do it. How do you emerge? What's on your head as you emerge from this work?
Well, I think that the word miracle, for me, I wanted to understand miracle. We use the word so frivolously, everybody in our day-to-day lives. That was a miracle. The touchdown he scored was a miracle. What is it? I wanted to understand really what is a miracle. And so for everyone, just everyone in the audience to understand how do you look at, how do the brothers, how does the Capuchin Franciscan Friars, how do you determine what is a miracle? How do you define miracle?
There's a lot of ways in which we interact with each other and positive things happen. What happens when we kick that up from just a normal human level to divine level? And so that our conversation is with each other, but it's also with God. And when we receive that answer, then we say, oh my goodness, this is something like Paula, who was cured at the tomb. It was a congenital disease. There was no scientific. There were no doctors that were working on this. She went and prayed, and the answer came. And so it's that incursion of God into our lives. The clouds are thick in our lives, and if sometimes there's that little bit of light that comes and shines on us, we go, wow. Yeah. And so it's kind of divine intervention into our existence.
Brother Richard.
Yes.
So Pope Francis proclaims Solanus blessed. Then we all witness collectively 60,000 strong at Ford Field, that beatification. What's next? What's the next step?
Well, the next step will be to become sainthood. But again, we will be looking at cases reported to us of healings that we could take one of them and really prove that it was totally unexpected and not through some medical intervention, rather, that it was truly through faith, through the prayers of the individual to Solanus, that whatever healing it might be would take place.
Got it. And Brother Jerry, looking back at all of this, especially your ongoing daily work, what's your takeaway? What's the big takeaway from the experience of the film, I guess as it relates also to your daily work?
The word I think about a lot is humility. I think everyone agrees about Solanus, like, he was a humble person. But we often don't take the other step of, like, God is humble. Usually we don't think of God that way, but humility is important for relationships, because a lot of people are like, well, God's too busy, God's not interested in what I'm dealing with. But actually what Solanus embodied was God saying, I love you, I care about what you're going through, and I actually want to be with you. And then the other aspect of humility is when Solanus, you know, during the Depression, when there's hundreds of people lining up at the door, Solanus, again, with the humility, says, I can't do this. And so humility is what inspired, what mobilized the community that says, we can't do this. So we think of the Capuchins, we say, yeah, the Capuchins are doing great things, but it's the community that's doing this. You know, we can't do it. We just try to play a part. And how do you encourage others to be a part of what God's trying to do with people?
Well, Brother Jerry, Brother Richard, Father David, thank you so much for being here, for adding so much context to this. And Keith, our thanks to you. These elements added so much more rich texture, not only to our evening, but to your film as well.
You know, and just my closing thought, these gentlemen and the work that they do every day, it's just so inspiring and so thought-provoking. And thank you for what you mean to us in our Motor City.
And thank you and your viewers, because it's together that we put a community together, that when a fabric is torn, to bring it together, there's many pieces that have to come together. And this is part of it.
Father David, we'll let that be the final word. Thank you, all of you, for being with us.
Thank you, Fred.
And we would love to thank you. All you have to do is call that number on the screen. Give what you can. Doesn't matter the amount. That's up to you. Just that we hear from you and you be with us.
We do have the film on DVD. If that's something that you would be interested in owning as part of your collection or sharing with a loved one, $72 donation will be able to thank you with a copy of that DVD so you can enjoy it again and again. The book is also fantastic. Just like the film, whether you're someone that is a person of faith and you're inspired by this, or just someone that has a love of learning, the book and the DVD, they really, there's something in there for everybody. I really believe that. So I hope that you'll be inspired right now to go to the phone, support public television, connect with one of our volunteers. We thank you for joining us in this incredible program. You made it possible with your pledge.